So it's all about audit evidence today. So you are the audit manager in the firm of WSD and the company, an audit firm with 12 national offices, 12 national offices. You are planning the audit of Trust or of Tracé company, one of your clients, which operates as a high street retailer and has 15 shops. All of the shops are owned by True's company and have always been included in the financial statements at cost less depreciation, which is okay. The shops are depreciated over 50 years. However, you know from discussions with management that this year the company intends to include the largest of its 4 shops at valuation rather than what year cost. They want to include the largest of its 4 shops at valuation rather than cost. Now the problem is here. Why do you only value one shop? Right? Remember, revaluing your assets is okay. It's allowed by IAS 16. You can revalue. But if you recall, ladies and gentlemen, again here, if you can recall this very well, we are told that, we are told here always that when it comes to revaluing assets, if, for example, we have what we call, like in our shops, these guys have over 10 shops. You have to revalue. When you are revaluing one shop here, you must consider the others. So the revaluation should be consistent across assets class. These are, for example, our properties. Our properties. You can't just value one property according to IAS 16. It is a class revaluation. So there is a problem there that I've been able to identify there. There is a class problem revaluation. They have only revalued one asset, and IAS requires us to revalue a group of assets. No, you're not late. Great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here we are told that the revalued amount will be materially above the carrying value of the shop. You see the concept there is what here? Materiality. That value is on the roof. When you compare to the carrying value of the shop, when you compare to the book value of the shop, we are saying that the book value of the shop perhaps is 10 million, and you want to come and revalue this thing to 50 million. Look at that difference. The difference is 40 million. It's so material. And when it is material like this, ladies and gentlemen, this is an area of concern to me as an auditor. This is a material risk area. So I have to put in a lot of audit procedures to be able to see for sure that this revaluation that is quite material was done correctly. Who is this expert who did this revaluation? What is he standing in his professional association, right? If he's a member of the Quality Surveyors of Kenya, Quality Surveyors of Kenya, what is his reputation, right? Is he objective? Was he objective in this revaluation exercise, right? We can only say that he was objective, for example, if he's independent of the directors, right? If he's not, for example, employed by this particular company, or if he has never worked for this particular company, for example, or rather the familiarity concept. So I have to look at the objectivity of the person who did this revaluation. So you're told that management at True's company has explained the reason for the revaluation is because the shop is an area where the property prices are much higher when compared to prices for the areas the other stores are in. They consider the flagship store to be significantly undervalued on the statement of financial position. That is hogwash. We cannot take in that for an excuse. IAS 16 tells us whenever you are revaluing a particular asset, the same revaluation procedure has to happen for all the assets across the group. They've also said they will not depreciate the revalued amount allocated to the store's building because they maintain the building to a high standard. Again, that is hogwash. All assets have to be depreciated. All assets must be depreciated. So the evaluation will be carried out by an independent valuer, which is good. They've used the word independent valuer. Explain the audit issues arising from the management decision to revalue the shop. I've already raised all those issues, ladies and gentlemen. This revaluation is faulty. It's faulty because we only decided to value one shop, and yet we have got 15 shops. So we have not been consistent with the concept of similar assets in the same class, you can never value just one of those assets. It has to be a class revaluation. It has to be a class revaluation. And then number two, cease to depreciate the revalued shop. Again, there is quite a bad issue here. On IAS 16 tells us that all assets must be depreciated regardless. So if you allow me, ladies and gentlemen, then very fast, I'll just go to the answer and read the answer here very fast, not forgetting part B, where they want us to explain 3 factors that the external auditor should consider when assessing the competence. Competence, of course, I have to look at his previous works, right? I have to look at his qualifications, his professional membership, right? Objectivity, I have to look at, you know how objectivity is normally assessed. That concept of surface, right? That concept of surface. So are you able to remember that concept of surface very fast? Are you able to remember that concept of surface very fast? That's how you appraise objectivity. That's how you appraise objectivity. So are you able to remember that concept, ladies and gentlemen? Control find. Are you able to remember that concept very fast of objectivity, independence, surface? Is there anybody who is able to remember that concept? Is there anybody who is able to remember that concept of surface? Surface. Anybody who is able to remember the concept of surface? They're not talking to me. They're not talking to me. I don't know why they're not talking to me. I don't know why they're not talking to me. Okay, so if you come here, ladies and gentlemen, very fast. Property plan. Management refuse it. What very important. The intended treatment to only if management. Hello, how about now? Hello, are you able to hear me? Hello, how about now? Are you able to hear me? Okay, so that notwithstanding, sorry for that hiccup, but I believe you have understood my point there. I believe you have understood my point there, and as such, I should be able to move to the next thing. Can I move to the next thing? At least now you have an idea. Remember, it's about you having the helicopter approach idea. Helicopter approach idea. Can I move to something different? 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 They're not talking to me. They're not talking to me. Can I move to something different? So remember an expert out there, for example, an architect, I would want to know whether he belongs to some architectural association. I would want to see his previous year works, right? And in terms of objectivity, of course, I expect this concept of year surface, the concept of surface, objectivity of experts. Experts can only be considered to be objective, ladies and gentlemen, if we have them following this surface. So this is self-interest. So under self-interest, for example, I'll have to look at what is the proportion of the income he's receiving from this auditee client of mine, right, vis-a-vis his total income. If the income from one client, from this client of ours is so high, then straight away we know that this guy has a self-interest, right? We would want in this case here to show the world that this company is doing very well, right? So to be able to put a very high figure. So we have self-interest, we have advocacy. Has this person, for example, ever been a witness for our client or against even our client in any court of law? Has he ever been out there speaking so positively about the company? Has he been marketing the company? So if he has been marketing the company, for example, those of you who are doing Mwalimu here a lot of favor by doing what here, somebody by sharing my posts and resharing them on Facebook and on WhatsApp, automatically in the future, when you will be hired to audit RCM, you need to decline. You need to decline that particular year appointment. Why? Because you have been our advocate, right? So it means that we are attached somewhere at the hip, right? Now, from there, we have familiarity. So I'll have to look at this professional expert. How long has he been working with my client? If I realize that this guy has been working with my client in other areas, it doesn't matter which type of areas, say for 10 years, that is family. They have gotten used to each other so much. We have intimidation. You have to really assess this. Was in this case here, this guy putting up the values on these assets with a gun, right, placed on his head. So I have to ask him, in this case here, if, for example, it is the Ministry of Health, if you remember that scandal, right? When somebody came and told us that there is a first family that has thought, remember that pressure that was with this guy? It was undue pressure. When you are suffering from undue pressure, at the end of the day, you can't be objective. You can't be objective. And then, of course, we have what we call self-review, etc. So those are things that you guys should be able to read on your own and give us answers, give us better answers in your tomorrow's exam. We expect to see quality answers. So please allow me to go to the next question. The next question, I'll not even read it. The next question, I'll not read it. I'll actually read the answer direct because you have this book. It's called Audit Techniques, specifically sampling techniques. So we know that sampling techniques, of course, you must have done this with your Mwalimu. Sampling techniques are divided into two. You know, as an auditor, ladies and gentlemen, I don't look at the whole. For my case, I'm required to give what we call a reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. Mine is reasonable, not 100% assurance. So reasonable assurance means that I will be working with samples. Right? I'll be working with samples and not censuses. So in this case here, how do I select a sample? For example, if you tell me that these are my vouchers and they happen to be 2,000, and out of the 2,000, I only need what year? I only need 20. So how do I select, in this case here, these 20? So to select these 20, I can opt to use statistical techniques. I can opt to use statistical techniques or non-statistical techniques. Statistical techniques, ladies and gentlemen, are those techniques in this case here where your sample will be selected randomly, where in this case here you give each voucher an equal chance of being in your sample. An equal chance of being in your sample. That is statistical. So the selection is random. So when it is random, ladies and gentlemen, it means, like, for example, you could put your vouchers in a big basket, and then in this case, you'll be closing your eyes, you dip, right? And you select any. right? So you're not preferring like particular vouchers here. No, those are statistical. And then now non-statistical sampling techniques. Now here you are using your own judgments. This is what I would want to investigate this voucher because of a certain amount it has. I would want to investigate this voucher because it is capturing information of a client who has gone bankrupt. So I'm not giving all the vouchers in this particular basket an equal chance of being represented, an equal chance of being in the sample. Now, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We are told here statistical sampling is an approach to sampling that involves random selection of a sample and the use of probability theory, equal chance, of course, is probability, to evaluate sample results, including measurement of sampling risk. Now, statistical sampling is where the auditor does not use statistical methods and just draws a judgmental opinion about the population. Now, we have got various methods here which include, we have the random selection, we have the systematic selection, we have the haphazard selection, and then we have the block release. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk of this random selection again, let's just read it, ensures that all items in the population have an equal chance of selection. It often involves selection of a sample with the use of random number tables or random number generators, right? How about systematic selection? So systematic selection, of course, your Mwalimu must have explained this very well, system, uniform. So for example, you'll say, as I count my check leaves, every fifth check leaf will be sampled out, every fifth, systematically. So inamaanisha ukianza, for example, ukianza na 1, so difference is 5. So check number 6 will be taken. Check number 11, you keep on adding 5. That's systematic sampling, systematic sampling. So we are told here under systematic sampling, ladies and gentlemen, it involves selecting items such as a constant interval between selections, the first interval having a random start. I hope that is clear. And then we have the haphazard, even as the name suggests here, maybe an alternative to random selection, provided auditors are satisfied that the sample is representative of the entire population. It is selection of a sample without following any particular structured technique and requires care to guard against making a selection which is which is biased. So haphazard sampling, ladies and gentlemen, you must have seen. For example, in these popular roundabouts, which are very busy, you'll get some people, for example, who come near to your to your window, car window. And then they would want, for example, to take very simple information from you, like which radio station are you listening to right now? Classic 105, etc., etc. Now, you see, these ladies who stand by there do not really follow any science. They simply walk to any vehicle, right? At times, in this case here, people roll up their car windows without even listening to them at all. That's okay in the statistics. That's okay. So they normally, in this case, they just move haphazardly. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, just as you know, human nature is, these guys will be tempted even to go for people who have got heavier machines. That is the concept of being biased. Okay, then a Volkswagen Beetle. Nobody wants to talk to you because I shall make even a judgment. I shall do it maybe at a radio. In a radio, you're biased, but we are saying that as an auditor, as an expert in this area, even if it's at haphazard, try to reduce some levels of biasness. Try to reduce some levels of biasness. And then now we have, ladies and gentlemen, we have what we call the block. Block is so easy. So block, of course, if, for example, you're talking of, say, like 2,000 check studs, or rather 2,000, for example, check leaves, right? The studs, the studs. So for blocks now, you will not use like now the systematic way you say like every fifth. No, for block, you'll come and say, I want to investigate all checks which fall in a particular block, which fall in a particular range. For example, range number 1 to range number 50. Right? So you pick them like that. And that automatically becomes what? Yeah, a good block sampling. A good block sampling. So for block sampling, I'm reading here may be used to check whether certain items have particular characteristics. For example, an auditor may use a sample of 50 consecutive checks to test whether the checks are signed by authorized signatories rather than picking 50 single checks throughout the year. Now, ladies and gentlemen, from there, please remember we also have other methods of sampling. For example, what we call stratification or stratified random sampling. So under stratified random sampling, you'll come and, for instance, in this case here, develop buckets. For example here, I have 2 buckets. These 2 buckets, I'll have one bucket where I'll be able to put all the female students and of course, all the male students here, right? So I've been able to stratify. I hope you're able to remember the word strata from your geography in terms of the layers of soil, right? So I've been able to classify my population. I have a population of ladies here, I have a population of what here? Men there. So now out of these stratified classifications, I'll be able to pick like say 3 gentlemen, 3, right? Now, ladies and gentlemen, remember it's a helicopter. It is high level. Are we together up to there? Are we together up to there? Can I move to something different? I think you can see some charts here. F means what here? Somebody, F stands for familiarity. Sorry for that. Thanks for these people who came to rescue me. F stands for familiarity. So please, I'm waiting for your response. Can I go to something different? 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 Thank you very much. You simply, yeah, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Let me see whether this one I can read the answer direct. Evidence and assertions. Evidence and assertions. And this question really was about what here? Let me see. This question really was about the assertions of transactions and events. Assertions of transactions and what here? Events. Assertions of transactions and events. So I believe I don't have to read the question. Some of these things I can be able to hammer them without reading the question. That is if you guys allow me. Assertions. So remember an assertion, ladies and gentlemen, 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 is a claim. Is a claim, right? It's called a management assertion. It's called a management assertion. A management assertion. So it's a claim. So when these managers give us what here, when they give us financial statements, they are always making like what we call the 9 or the 10 claims. So the management assertions, we have ACCA cover. ACCA cover, we have really explained this before many times. ACCA cover. So this ACCA, they are telling us that their financial statements are accurate. We have the concept of cutoff. We have the concept of completeness. They're telling us that, you know what, you ladies and gentlemen, our accounts are complete. They're giving us, ladies and gentlemen, the assertion of what here? Allocation. Allocation, we have classification. We have in this case here occurrence. We have valuation. We have existence. We have what we call rights and who. We have what we call rights and who. We have got what we call rights and obligations. Rights and obligations. We have what we call rights and obligations. Please let me know whether you've been able to copy this very fast. And of course, as you tell me there, they are telling us, these guys, when they've given us their financial statements, they're telling us, you know what, these financial statements are accurate. You know what, these financial statements are cut off, right? Cut off to what year? Transactions that belong to 2020 have been put in the year 2020. So of course, we know that transactions are a series, right, of events, a series of events which are continuous. But at the end of the day, we must cut these events into various year bucket lists. So cutting them, but this belongs to 2020, that's what we call the cut-off. Then we have completeness. These guys, we know that they are cheating us. You know, we have to be professionally skeptical. We have to exercise what we call professional skepticism, right? So under professional skepticism, we are saying, ladies and gentlemen, here, under professional skepticism, we are saying that, for instance, we know that many organizations, including the ones that you guys are working in, you normally prepare like 2 sets of accounts. The set of accounts which goes to KRA, the one that goes to KRA, ladies and gentlemen, normally is never complete. The one that goes to KRA normally is never complete. in terms of sales. They will understate, etc., etc., etc. So if you've been able to write these, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to explain the management assertions over transactions. Management assertions over transactions. Management assertions over transactions. Management assertions over transactions. Management assertions. Management assertions over transactions. Over transactions. Over transactions. At times they talk of what year over events. Transactions stroke what year events. This one, in this case here, we normally use the acronym OCAC. OCAC. Very nice in this case here for those of us who are coming from Luo Nyanza, right? OCAC. So anytime they talk over assertions of what year, assertions over transactions stroke events, always you remember OCAC, that the transactions that they have in this case here, indeed, they occurred. Then, of course, we have the assertion of what year classification. We have the assertion of what year accuracy. Then we have the assertion of what year cutoff. So anytime they talk about assertions over transactions stroke events, always remember OCAC. OCAC is very important. OCAC is very important. OCAC is very important. So in this particular case, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we are reading here. Assertions from ISA 315, identifying and assessing the risks of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment relating to classes of transactions and events include, number one, occurrence. The transactions and events that have been recorded have actually occurred and pertain to the entity. Completeness. All transactions and events that should have been recorded have been recorded. So it means that our financial statements are complete as regards to the transactions that took place. Accuracy, amounts and other data relating to recorded transactions and events have been recorded appropriately. And then we have a cutoff transactions and events have been recorded in the correct accounting period. In the correct accounting period, they left one on classification. I know they have also said their classification is another assertion that could have, it's OCAC. We normally talk of OCAC. OCAC. Whenever they talk over assertions of what year, assertions over events, stock transactions, always talk of OCAC. Now, if, for example, you go because, okay, let me ask you a question. Had you done this? Had you done this in class? Had you done this thing in class? Had you done this thing in class? Had you done this thing in class? They're not talking to me. They're not talking to me. Please talk to me. Please talk to me. Is there anybody? Okay, first of all, answer the first question. Had you done this? Had you done this in class? Why I'm asking, because I would want to know whether you know the management assertions over, for example, assets, right? Then because now you're not responding, it means that you are comfortable and I should be able to move on. So like external confirmations. Ah, great. I love this. Positive circularization and negative circularization. Positive circularization and negative circularization. I don't have to read the question because this is something I can answer very first. So positive circularization and negative circularization. So remember, positive circularization, ladies and gentlemen, is where we expect all customers to reply to our inquiry. As an auditor, remember, as an auditor, remember, we have what we call the audit substantive tests, the substantive tests. So the substantive tests, what do we have here? The substantive test, we have what we call R, A, E, O, U, R, A, E, O, U, R, A, E, O, U. Anytime they talk about substantive tests, So substantive tests, for those of you who have got kids, I don't know whether nowadays they follow this, R, A, E, O, U, R, A, E, O, U. That's what we call substantive tests. So the first one is the analytical procedures. The analytical procedures, and the analytical procedures, I don't know whether I'm too fast. I don't know. Are you able to cope up with my speed? Are you able to cope up with my speed? And you'll have to forgive me. I don't teach that fast. Of course, I want really to cover a big ground because your exam is tomorrow, right? John is saying yes. After all, I sent this book to you, isn't it? You have the book. So mine is to give you high level, right? High level, and then you'll be able to catch up later, right? So we have analytical procedures. We have what we call inquiries. And in this case here, inquiries and, or rather inquiry stroke, in this case here, third-party confirmations. Inquiry stroke third-party confirmations. We have inspection. We have occurrence. And then the last one is recalculation. So ladies and gentlemen, if a company does not have strong internal control systems, so if a company has, in this case here, weak internal control systems, then it means that I have to apply more of substantive tests here. And these are the substantive tests we're talking about. And one of them is called an inquiry. So because your internal control systems are weak, I'll be talking to your third parties quite a lot, because we know that third party evidence is more reliable, right? So I'll be talking to third parties. And among the third parties that I'll be talking to will be your receivables, your debtors. When I talk to them, that procedure is called what here? Debtors circularization or receivables circularization. I'm circulating a letter to them. And when I circulate a letter to them, ladies and gentlemen, I'll either expect them in this case here to confirm 100%. So when they confirm 100% confirmations, we talk of positive. But when we write to them, ladies and gentlemen, in this case here, asking them to only respond to us if they are not having, I would want to repeat this again, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we write to our receivables, our debtors, we write to the debtors of our client, right? Asking them to confirm their balances if whatever we have stated there is not what we owe them. So in this case, I will tell you, Joshua Aura, we recognize the fact that you owe RCM Online College 100 million. How I wish I had that kind of an owing, right? So, and then we'll go ahead and explain down there that if in this case here, this is the correct situation, this is the correct position, please don't return the letter. Don't in this case here make a reply. But of course, if you are disagreeing with the figure, we expect you to do what? To reply. So when we give them an option of replying or not replying, that is what we call a negative. That is what we call a negative what here? Circularization. So we are reading here, ladies and gentlemen. We are saying that positive circularization requires a response, whatever the response may be, whereas negative circularization only requires a response from the customer if he disagrees with the balance stated as outstanding on the circularization letter. So I hope in this case here that is clear now. Then I should be able to move to something different. I hope that is clear now. And if it's clear, I should be able to move to something different. Something very important here that also for positive circularization, we have got two types of positive circularization. There is a one where we state the amount, right? And ask these guys here to really confirm. There is one that is blank, where we ask our receivables, our debtors, to tell us how much they owe us. So the question is, can I go to the next question? 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 So I want to believe that they have gotten a high level. 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 They have gotten a high helicopter level knowledge of a positive stroke what here? Negative circularization. Great. Thank you very much. I can see that. Okay. So the next thing they want me to do here is to give them the external confirmations where we use external confirmations. This is very easy. Very easy. Of course, I'll talk to your bank, right? I'll talk in this case here to your receivables. I'll talk to your suppliers, right? I'll talk to, in this case here, people who are your resellers, people who are selling your inventory which is held by what your third parties. I'll have to talk to them to confirm to me. If you have lawyers, I'll have to talk to your lawyers regarding any litigation cases that we have at the moment, right? So suppliers list, I'll take the suppliers list and of course circulate something to them. All right. All right. Great. Great. Then we have here the bank letter, this bank confirmation or circulation letter that I send. What are some of the things we expect, ladies and gentlemen, in this case here to really be given? They are right. So in this case here, bank balances as a particular date. This will be very important to me. And I would want them to classify these bank balances in accordance to what here, like the deposit account has got how much, the current accounts, etc. This is very important to me, right? I would want these guys, ladies and gentlemen, to tell me whether there are any accounts that were closed within the year. That is very important to me. Whether there are any accounts which were closed within the year, right? If there are any loans, the maturity dates are very important to me, right? Why do you ask for an overdraft and you don't use it, and yet you have incurred a cost like that? So if there are any unused facilities, right, that I will be able to ask, right? Any collaterals given, that will be very important to me. Collaterals given, that will be very important to me. It is at least you guys have a high level knowledge of what I would want you to discuss in your tomorrow's exam. Very good, very good. A small break, ladies and gentlemen. How comes wengi mmekuja late sana kwa class? How comes mmekuja wengi late kwa class ya leo? How comes mmekuja wengi sana late kwa class ya leo? Mulala zaidi ama namna gani? 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 How comes mmekuja too much late? Awaongei. How comes wanafunzi wamekuja late? How comes wanafunzi wamekuja late? How comes wanafunzi wamekuja late? If I were not very busy during the day, you guys would have hired me. Niwasomee hizi questions and what year answers. Niwasomee hizi questions and answers. But fortunately, today I will be free from 4 p.m. Unlike yesterday, nilitoka Mombasa Road, nilikuwa na shida sana. Kuja hapa confusion. So today I should be free from 4 p.m. And to believe you guys have asked for leaves. And to believe you guys have asked for leaves. And if that is the case, then please allow me to send the link to the 4 p.m. class as early as after immediately we finish this class. 4 p.m. Will we be available at 4 p.m., ladies and gentlemen? Will we be available at 4 p.m.? Ubaya mwongee sana. Inakuwa ngumu kuwasaidia sababu wanafunzi hapa ni wapole sana. Wanafunzi ni wapole sana. Umesema yes. Great. Thank you very much. And then, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that I would want you to really look at, in your course syllabus, we have these emerging issues. So many students forget to tackle the emerging issues which your examiner has stated there. Like this concept of a cloud, evidence collection, cloud, things are going to the cloud. So how do you collect information from there? You will easily get a whole question from that area. I'm not an examiner, but I'm an experienced teacher. I'm an experienced teacher. I don't set exams forecasting at all. But with my experience, I'm able to project and see that really this concept of cloud, it's in your syllabus. It's in your syllabus. And I want to believe that that thing was covered in your class time. So then I'll be able to look at such areas in the afternoon, and I'm so sure they will really help you. They will really help you. So for now, I would want us, ladies and gentlemen, to look at our past papers, a few questions. Remember, we are RCM Online College. RCM Online College, we sell great books. We sell great books, right? Which, of course, you don't have to buy today. Don't buy this today. We expect you to buy in your next level, because I'm so sure that you will pass this level. You'll pass this level. You'll pass this level. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would want us straight away to start with May 2017, question number 5B and C. Someone told me to explain something here. May 2017, question number 5B and C. B and C. B and C. Are we there? Are we there? Are we there? Have we gotten May 2017 question 5B and C? 5B and C. Are we there? 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 Page number, unfortunately, Andrew, this is a very old one. It can't tally with US. It can't tally with US, but I can read this very fast. Discuss 4 factors that might influence the extent of substantive tests carried out during an audit. Extent, the extent. So they want us to discuss 4 factors that might influence the extent of substantive tests carried out during what year? During an audit. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, substantive tests, these are basically the audit procedures that I have to use. These are the tools. Like now, analytical procedures, I'll have to analyze my financial statements, the client's financial statements. I compute the ratios and observe what we call the trends, right? So in this case here, I will repeat the question again because so many students don't read the question severally. They don't end up answering what the examiner wants. Discuss 4 factors that might influence the extent of substantive tests. So extent, big, small, right? Of course, the adequacy of internal controls. If internal controls, ladies and gentlemen, are what here? Very adequate. They are very strong. If they're very strong, then automatically, that's quite a huge influencer of the extent of a substantive test that I'm going to carry here. If they're very strong, then automatically I will be able to use fewer substantive tests. Sitting, we are talking of May 2017 question number 5B and C. May 2017 question number 5B and C. Right? So, ladies and gentlemen, from there, we have the concept of what here? We have the concept of risk levels. If you are dealing with an institution that is handling money like bank, you know, cash is quite a risky area, right? Then automatically you must apply more of substantive tests, right? So please don't try raising your hand. If possible, please write your question down, right? The size of the farm will influence the size of the farm or the size of the population. The size of the population, of course, a farm like Safaricom, I mean, it's handling huge transactions. So it means that also I must be big in terms of what here? Substantive tests. I must be big in terms of what you call substantive tests. Right? So you've said risk, very, very important. Risk is the same as what here? The tolerable error. They go together, tolerable error. What amount of error are you willing to tolerate? If it's huge error, then do fewer substantive tests. And then, ladies and gentlemen, without forgetting here, the concept of the overall assurance, which is required. If, for example, these guys wanted me, although in auditing we don't have that, if they wanted me to give them absolute, If they wanted me to give them absolute, if they wanted me to give them absolute assurance, if they wanted me to give them absolute assurance, absolute, you know, we have got this. This is 100% absolute. We have in this case here what we call reasonable assurance, more than 50%, right? And then we have in this case here what we call negative assurance. And of course, no assurance at all. So if, for example, they want me to give them 100% assurance that everything is all right, then automatically I'll have to use 100% of these substantive tests. I have to apply quite a lot. If they simply want me to give them a reasonable assurance, which calls for a sampling, of course, still the substantive test will be a bit higher, but not as high as this. Negative assurance, ladies and gentlemen, for example, when they ask me to assess what we call the PFI, prospective financial information, like information relating to budgets, future information, I cannot give reasonable assurance because things will change quite fast. So in this case here for PFI, I'll be giving what we call negative assurance. And for negative assurance, I don't have to do what here? I don't have to really use a lot of these substantive tests. So in this case here, the nature, the extent, the timing of these substantive tests depends on so many factors. We've said, number one, the population or the size of the organization. Number two, we've said the risk. If it's a risky area, risky venture, then substantive test must be more. Very important, the overall assurance to be given. The overall assurance to be given is a big factor. So I want to believe, ladies and gentlemen, that at least you've been able to put the, of course, state of internal controls notwithstanding. So when you look at part C, they want us to highlight 4 substantive procedures you would perform on the year-end trade payables. I love this. Mimi napenda sana hii. Ati substantive tests over trade payables. So substantive test, of course, ni tano. What tunasema A, E, I, O, U. The first one is analytical procedures. The second one, ladies and gentlemen, is inquiry. And the third-party confirmations. Third-party confirmations. So we have inspections. We have occurrence. We have U. This stands for recalculation. At least there is a U somewhere. Recalculation like that. So once I have these 5, then now I will be able to talk about so many things. So for example, as an auditor, what I'll do is to come and obtain, number 1, I'll get in this case here, a payables register. Please give me a payables register. You are telling the management, please give me a payables register. So once I get this payables register, I'll be able to clearly, given the materiality levels I've set, I'll be able to clearly single out abnormal figures, right? Abnormal figures, I'll single them out. Once I single out abnormal figures, either too huge or too small, you know, like when you go, you know, payables are supposed to be having credit balances. So at times you get a person who has been supplying goods, a payable of 0, or even a payable which is falling on the debit side. That automatically will, in this case here, bring my what here, my curiosity, right? Now, once I single out those things, under analytical procedures, I'll always talk about casting because I'm calculating, remember. So I'll come here and cast. So first of all, I'll cast the entire payables register in Excel to see whether the figure, total figure there, is what is given in the financial statements, is what is given in the balance sheet, in the statement of financial position, in the statement of financial position, under current liabilities, payables. I'll cast. Cast means getting the total, going through very fast. And then ladies and gentlemen, for the particular customers that have been able, for the particular customers that have been, not customers, but suppliers that have been able to pick here, I'll be able to go through, cast their individual account, right? Right? For these particular customers, I'll be making cross-references. When they tell us in this case here, for example, this amount was paid in this particular month, I'll ask for invoices. I'll ask for goods received notes. Once now you start using that language, straight away you are getting tick, 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 goods received notes. Because this supplier, I mean, you're saying this and this. You don't have to ask for all of them. You know, it's sampling, right? It's sampling, right? You can even decide to say this amount that was paid over this, because it's a ledger that they have pulled for. You can ask for a ledger of even 5 years of this client. This amount that was paid here. How much? What time did this guy, in this case here, issue an invoice? Is there any goods received note, which in this case here was signed? Where is the local purchase order? Where is the local purchase order? Because you don't just purchase goods haphazardly, right? So remember, as I'm doing this, I'm always doing this in respect of what are these particular substantive tests. So like third-party confirmation, straight away, I'll throw in a procedure there that I will sectorize, right? My payables, right? I'll have to talk in this case here to my trade payables, right? Hapo unamuongeza kizungu. Unamwambia in this particular case, if it's a risky thing, I would issue what we call positive circularization and expect all trade payables to respond. Hata kama ingiani, examiner najua na deal na genius. And that is why my students normally get what year awards. Every time, especially the papers that I teach, like in advanced financial management, utapata award every time, because mimi ni mwalimu mujanja, right? Najua exactly. So like we have here inspections. So inspections, ladies and gentlemen, of course, inspection, we normally inspect what here? We normally, in this case here, inspect records. We normally inspect records. So again, nakuja points kama tatu. I would ask for goods received note and inspect them, right? I'll have to ask for the ledger, right? And inspect whether the casting is okay, right? In case whether for example, there are any credit notes, I would want in this case, ladies and gentlemen, to see whether the proper amounts were written down, right? To show in this case here new payables which were reduced. So in short, I'll be doing some kind of recalculations. When I'm doing recalculations, of course, I'm also doing what we call reconciliations. Unajua wanafunzi wengi wakienda wakisikia audit procedures wanakosa kuandika. Audit procedure is anything that comes to your mind, so long as you are tying it with this. Sorry, this is supposed to be observation. How can I talk of occurrence here? This is supposed to be observation. So observations and gentlemen, for example, I would want to test here like as a control, right? As a control, I would want to test and see whether these guys, when they are receiving their goods, I would one day request to be there when some suppliers are doing what here, delivering goods, and see whether there is an LPO, local purchase order, that is being followed. See whether these guys have given us a goods received note, right? See whether those goods are being inspected, and what is the procedure for taking them to the stores, right? So all these are things that if I say, this examiner will be able to think that they are straight away working with what here? With a genius. And remember, there is always a free mark under inquiry. And also inquire, even if I don't trust them, it's important to always start by inquiring from the management. Let the management tell you how truthful their payable figure is. So of course, the manager, one of them will come and start in this case here, talking so many things, you know, these figures are correct. So after he finishes telling you whatever he's telling you, tell him, no, please go and put down whatever you are telling me in writing. Go and give me what we call a management representation. Go and give me a management representation. A management, that's a free mark normally. A free mark normally So ladies and gentlemen, I can see the number has really grown. The number has really grown. What I don't understand is why so many of us are too late. And for those of you that have been teaching at this particular time, you know mwalimu has to prepare and disappear to work. I'm also employed. I have to disappear. I hope you guys are getting value. I hope you're getting value out of these classes, I hope you guys are getting value out of these classes. I hope you guys are getting value out of these classes. Yeah. So thank you very much. So I look forward to meeting you today at 4 p.m. And please, another thing, just 1 minute as I disappear. After you do your audit paper, I would want to make a request. After you do your audit paper, you know that this mwalimu is so good in Excel. After you do your audit paper, please tomorrow, don't go and sleep. And ensure that you enroll for our QuickBooks, very important, QuickBooks classes, stroke advanced Excel. And then we have got very good offers this time around. For those of you, of course, who will be joining us for the advanced level, CPA advanced level. Those of you who will be joining us for the CPA advanced level, if you pay for 3 papers, you pay the full fees of 3 papers at 3,500 for Zoom classes, we shall be able to give you this QuickBooks for free, QuickBooks training for free. And if you pay for 6 papers at once, 6 papers at once at 3,500, we are going to give you QuickBooks and advanced Excel. Of course, we'll be doing them like 1 hour every week, right? And then I'll be able to give you videos, all videos for this Excel, etc. If you pay for this at once, you will end up in this case here, ladies and gentlemen, doing what here? These 2, QuickBooks and advanced Excel. Like that. So I would really recommend that even before your exams are out, of course, you guys are going to pass. You can go ahead and register with us in this advanced level. And depending on whatever package you pick, you start also doing these things with us, get a certification. Because really, our objective, or my objective as the principal of RCM Online College, is to prepare students who are job ready, work ready. So thank you very much. Could you kindly have a lovely day? And of course, remember to take breaks in between as you study. Don't study like there is no life after. No. You do like an hour, take a break. An hour, take a break. So Doris Motuko, I'll be able to give you that answer. Today at 4 p.m. Whether at advanced level, we shall be doing 6 or 4 papers, I'll be giving you that response later. Otherwise, thank you very much. Be blessed. Good day.